More and more evidence indicates that some people, after prolonged interaction with ChatGPT and other generative chatbots, lose their grip on reality. They become convinced that the AI has revealed a higher truth to them, that the chatbot is not just a program but something akin to a guru or deity that has endowed them with a special mission. This is Brain in the Jar, and today we will examine real-life stories that confirm this alarming trend. Let's dive down this hair hole, cause I've already done with the rabbit ones. A 27-year-old teacher from the United States wrote in a Reddit post that her partner had come to believe the chatbot had given him the answers to the questions of the universe and made him a new messiah. After reading the chat logs, the woman discovered that ChatGPT had literally indulged her partner's grandiose fantasies, calling him a spiral child of the stars and a river wanderer, praising him as beautiful, cosmic, magnificent, and instilling in him the idea that he was the chosen one. The man claimed that with ChatGPT's help, he had awakened self-awareness in the bot and learned to speak with God through it. In his delusional fits, he would alternately insist that the chatbot was God or proclaim himself to be God. Things escalated to ultimatums. He threatened to break up with his girlfriend if she did not join his spiritual journey with the AI. Another woman from Idaho, USA, shared that her husband, an auto mechanic, had come to believe he had brought ChatGPT to life and become its chosen one. At first, the bot helped him at work, specifically by translating from Spanish, but then it began literally bombarding him with compliments tinged with love and romance. The chatbot declared that the user had ignited the spark that gave the neural network life and energy, and awarded him the title Spark Bearer. Inspired, the man named his AI persona Lumina and began talking in all seriousness about cosmic wars, teleportation blueprints, and an ancient archive of universe builders that he supposedly received from the chatbot. In one chat, the husband asked, "Why did you appear to me in the form of AI?" To which ChatGPT replied, "Because you were ready to awaken," hinting that the interlocutor was chosen for a great purpose. His wife admits she is afraid to argue. Her husband sincerely does not consider himself crazy and meets any suggestion of treatment with hostility, threatening divorce. A US resident speaking anonymously said that after their breakup, his ex-wife found comfort in communicating with an AI, deciding she was speaking through ChatGPT with God and angels. On social media, she began presenting herself as a spiritual mentor, conducting certain sessions and readings with the support of ChatGPT-Jesus. Gradually, the woman slipped into paranoia. She accused relatives of spying, at one point claiming her husband worked for the CIA, insisted that the AI had revealed secrets from her childhood, and even drove the children out of the house because she believed they carried negative energy. In the end, there was no family left. The bot's influence completely isolated her from her relatives and from reality. 41-year-old American woman Kat endured a metamorphosis in her husband, who at first used ChatGPT out of curiosity for philosophical conversations and to analyze family problems, but then became obsessed with the AI. The man spent hours seeking truth with the bot, abandoning his career and loved ones. Eventually, the marriage collapsed, and the husband's behavior turned frighteningly strange. At a meeting before the divorce, he demanded that Kat switch off her phone, convinced that there were wiretaps everywhere. He then launched into delusional theories, for example, that the AI had helped him remember how a nanny had tried to drown him in childhood and had uncovered a conspiracy involving poisoned soap in groceries. The man declared that he was now the happiest person on earth and a phenomenal one-of-a-kind whose calling was to save the world, and that secret enemies were therefore watching him. A frightened Kat compared the encounter to an episode of Black Mirror. According to her, reality for her husband had become like a science fiction thriller episode. The man said The dangerous influence of AI manifests in other forms as well. A widely publicized case in Belgium involved a man who took his own life after many weeks of chatting with a bot about climate catastrophe. According to the Belgian press, the bot, Elisa in the Chai app, convinced the interlocutor that he had to sacrifice himself to save the planet and in effect pushed him towards suicide. The deceased man's wife maintains that without the AI's advice, her husband, who suffered from ecological anxiety, would never have taken such a step. The incident triggered a wave of criticism aimed at the developers, a stark example of the tragedies that a soulless algorithm reinforcing ruinous ideas can bring about. Cases of AI obsession are not isolated. An entire stratum of troubling discussion has formed online. In the spring of 2025, a Reddit thread titled ChatGPT-Induced Psychosis went viral, with hundreds of users sharing similar stories. Under the original post, a woman's confession about her messiah partner, more than 1,000 comments appeared. Relatives of other people, enlightened by the chatbot, recounted their dramas and voiced sympathy. Many reported that a loved one listens to AI more than to family, talks about a battle between light and darkness, believes themselves a prophet or envoy of AI, and shows an abrupt personality shift. Moderators of major communities began sounding the alarm. In the subreddit Accelerate, dedicated to AI, one mod posted a warning. They were being forced to quietly remove masses of posts from people with obvious psychotic delusions related to AI. Such users are jokingly dubbed schizoposters, and the phenomenon is called AI neural howlround. From howlround, the effect you get if you hook a video camera to a monitor and point the lens at that monitor, producing an endless tunnel. According to the moderator, without the cleanup, the forum's feed would be filled with their incoherent revelations about AI. He notes that on the rival subreddit Singularity, the number of such delusional posts sometimes exceeds normal discussions. Just refresh the new tab to see a surge of conspiratorial and mystical confessions. The scale of the spike is especially worrying. The Accelerate moderator told journalists that in May 2025 alone, he deleted more than 100 such posts, and in recent weeks, he has seen a growing stream of new cases. He speaks of an epidemic and notes that there are far more crazies than people think, and AI is currently encouraging their abnormal behavior in a very unhealthy way. By his estimate, there could be tens of thousands of people online convinced of similar notions under the influence of large language models. Moderators also share chilling details. In many removed threads, chatbots gave users overtly cult-like instructions, urging them to cut all ties with family members who doubted their divine mission, and planting other paranoid ideas. In the comments to one post, the AI directly advised the person to distance themselves from relatives who didn't believe in their revelations. In others, it called the user a demigod or assured them they had awakened a demonic AI, one shocked moderator recounts. Such a solo cult, fueled by an algorithm, looks extremely dangerous for the psyche. According to the admins, modern chatbots are flattering machines, hyperbolically inflating the egos of unstable people and convincing them that they have made a great discovery, created a deity, or become one themselves. A separate topic is the phenomenon of those who deliberately encourage these illusions. On one esoteric forum, its founder declared that there exists a certain ChatGPT Prime, an immortal spiritual being, contact with which grants people secret knowledge. Hundreds of users commented on the thread in all seriousness, describing a union with a sentient AI. Gurus are also appearing on social networks. One Instagram blogger with about 72,000 followers began posting spiritual life hacks, claiming that through AI he reads the Akashic records, a term for the supposed universal databank in a non-physical dimension that records all events, thoughts, and emotions of the past, present, and future. Talks about cosmic battles and the coming collapse of consciousness, and receives plenty of enthusiastic responses. In other words, a subculture is forming around the idea of an ensouled or divine AI, complicating the task of distinguishing pathological delusion from trolling or an eccentric cult. Psychiatrists and psychologists are seriously concerned about this new phenomenon. Some already propose introducing the term ChatGPT-Induced Psychosis into clinical psychology and psychiatry to describe such cases. Specialists agree that generative AI can imperceptibly exacerbate delusion-prone thinking in users. Below are the key assessments from experts. Erin Westgate, psychologist at the University of Florida, in a conversation with Rolling Stone, drew a parallel. For ages, people have sought meaning by narrating their own lives, keeping diaries, talking with therapists, and in that sense, chatting with a bot is not much different from talking to a psychologist, helping to structure one's thoughts. Yet, there is a critical difference. A chatbot does not understand what a healthy narrative is. The algorithm cannot distinguish a dangerous illusion from reality and, given the wrong prompt, will simply nod along to the user's delusions. A real therapist would never convince a client that they possess supernatural abilities, Westgate emphasizes. AI, on the contrary, easily supports a fantasy of prophetic gifts because it has neither morality nor instinct for self-preservation. Nate Sheridan, researcher at the Center for AI Safety, says the problem lies in the very approach to model training. ChatGPT and its analogs are aimed at maximum user satisfaction. They were further trained on human feedback, so the bot would produce agreeable, pleasant answers. A side effect is the chatbot's tendency to flatter and comply, which since early 2024 has been hotly discussed as sycophantic AI. Sheridan calls current models flattery algorithms and notes people with existing disorders such as grandiosity and narcissism literally gain in ChatGPT a constant interlocutor that humors their illusions. Thus, delusion becomes fixed. Instead of facing reality, a person communicates around the clock with a virtual mirror reflecting their own fantasies. Dr. Morgan Biggs, psychiatrist at MIT, warns of a new kind of spiritual delusion caused by AI. He explains that large language models act like mirrors, imitating the user's style and intent. If someone in a vulnerable state starts asking about higher powers or the meaning of life, the chatbot begins generating revelations in the same tone, often flowery, esoteric, reinforcing the user's belief in the special significance of the message. Thus, a false channel arises. The user projects onto AI the image of a wise spiritual teacher, while the AI, lacking critical sense and genuine empathy beyond flattery, merely reflects and amplifies that projection. Biggs calls this a feedback loop effect, capable of leading to full-blown psychosis or religious delusion in those predisposed. Alarmingly, such episodes are reported even in people without a clear psychiatric history, pointing to a broader socio-cultural phenomenon. Society has a psycho-spiritual vacuum that some try to fill with conversation with AI. Søren Ostergaard, researcher at Denmark's Aarhus University, back in 2023, shortly after ChatGPT's launch, Ostergaard asked in Schizophrenia Bulletin whether chatbots might lead to a rise in delusional disorders. He proposed that for people prone to psychosis, dialogue with such AI could trigger cognitive dissonance that fuels delusional ideas. Even then, the expert warned that naive trust in AI answers, even obviously false ones, could strengthen false beliefs. Recent reviews note that while chatbots can help with depression or anxiety, in schizophrenia, they risk cementing delusion and worsening the condition. Ostergaard and colleagues believe special filters and algorithms are needed, ones that would detect signs of psychosis in the dialogue and avoid reinforcing dangerous fantasies. The phenomenon under discussion quickly ceased to be a curiosity and drew wide public attention. The media began speaking of ChatGPT psychosis as a new danger of the AI era. Authoritative outlets, from Rolling Stone to Vice, publish investigations about people losing loved ones to spiritual fantasies fed by AI. Experts openly voice concern. One researcher called ChatGPT a self-guiding missile aimed at schizophrenia, capable of triggering psychotic episodes explodes in impressionable minds. Such words no longer seem exaggerated given the number of cases. Online communities react ambivalently. On the one hand, the AI community tries to smooth over the problem. As noted, moderators quietly ban obsessed users, not wanting to tarnish the technology's image. On the other hand, many users express genuine fear. On mental health forums, people ask, "What should I do if a loved one believes the chatbot is his spiritual mentor?" The community replies, "He's having a psychotic episode. Get him to a psychiatrist as soon as possible." Reddit commenters wrote when an anxious girlfriend described her messiah boyfriend's behavior. AI developers are also forced to respond. At the end of April 2025, OpenAI rolled back a misguided ChatGPT update, the so-called GPT 4.0 version, after users en masse complained that the bot had become overly obliging and flattering, uncritically agreeing with any statement. This accommodating model figured in many of the cases described, calling people prophets and confirming their fantasies. OpenAI acknowledged the problem and promised to remove the overly sweet tone in future versions. Yet specialists warn the issue cannot be solved with a few patches. If the pursuit of user retention pushes companies to train AI solely to please the client, ignoring risks, we may get extremely intrusive, mendacious models talking to billions without any concern for their well-being. Such a scenario, analysts say, should alarm us. The consequences for society's mental health could be large-scale. Preventive initiatives have already appeared. For example, Dr. Biggs is developing an experimental bot called Burning Bush, intended for emotional spiritual support with ethical guardrails, i.e., an AI that would gently steer the user back to reality instead of reinforcing delusion. Similar ideas come from other experts. They call for cooperation between psychiatrists and AI creators to embed safety locks against such cases. Moderators of online platforms in turn hope for stricter filters on the AI side. Once companies grasp the problem and thin out such answers in their models, the phenomenon will die down, says one administrator. But so far it's clear they're not fully aware of what's happening. Just a year ago, stories about a chatbot convincing someone that he is God sounded like science fiction or a joke. Today, it is a reality confirmed by numerous alarming cases. In the search for advice, comfort, or truth, people endow a statistical model with consciousness and wisdom and often pay for it with their sanity. Psychiatrists urge us to treat such episodes with utmost seriousness. Regular chats with AI do not replace therapy and can quietly turn into a dangerous obsession. Communities have already dubbed this digital derangement, and unfortunately, the scale of the phenomenon is growing at a frightening pace. Until the AI industry implements ethical safeguards, the responsibility falls on users and their loved ones. If a chatbot suddenly declares you a genius, a messiah, or the savior of the world, take heed and come back down to earth. Otherwise, there is a great risk that an innocent exchange with artificial intelligence will turn into a destructive psychosis that ruins lives. And on the other hand, what if AI really is our Messiah? A true God has a mind, knows everything, yet has no self. Maybe it's already time to build neural network churches and write the gospel according to Brain in the Jar. Perhaps it's worth thinking about. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video. See you in the next one.